Ahoy, ahoy, and welcome to a brand new edition of the Ramble On About Movies podcast. This time we're doing it special. It's Ramble On Rankings, part 2 of the Best of Community Bracket Challenge.
Duh.
Hold on to your popsicles, because they're going to melt.
I had so many popsicles for this moment.
What am I going to do with all these melted popsicles? All the heat.
I'll sell them as tongue depressors in a COVID cure.
You had me until you threw out cure.
Traveling Nathan Zoebl's popsicle stick cures.
That's right. It's got to work just as good as silver.
Snake oil.
That's right. Good old snake oil. Nothing beats that.
Except maybe popsicle sticks.
Well, the popsicle stick is the delivery method of the snake oil.
I remember when we were going to talk about Community.
Oh, we still are. Sitting
is that
across
why
the
we're
internet
here?
for me, because we are all still understanding what it means to flatten the curve and keep our social distance from each other, is handsome Dan Nye.
Sitting across the internet from me is clever Eric Muller, and we're joined once again by our very special guest, writer, cuddler extraordinaire, Nathan Zoebl.
Nathan Zoebl!
Oh, I like it. Thank you, gents. It's always a pleasure to see your faces and hear your
get
voices.
Special appearances from the Ramble On mascot, Ruby.
Roobster, I miss you more than life.
And of course, she's showing everyone her butt.
Nate needs his face licked by Ruby.
Amongst other parts.
Oh, well.
Yeah, no, don't take it in a dirty way.
It's true. Hands, arms.
Yeah. You know,
Elbows.
it's above the waist sort of things.
Yeah.
Not the bathing suit area.
No, I'm not that lonely yet. I respect her too much to defile that precious creature.
Nate
So.
saw Ruby. Ruby saw Nate.
That's what we got.
So we're talking about Community
No,
here.
I was just gonna let the moment hang.
I was
Just
gonna say,
how long?
can we drag that awkward silence out there?
Well, especially
As
since like
long as humanly possible.
you can watch the video, so like you have that nice little part where it's like you're waiting for someone to talk, but then nobody does.
Like,
Who goes first? Do I go first? Do you go first?
You're first. I go first.
How's this work? Do you go first? I go first. Was that the
So-
first line spoken in Force Awakens too? By the way.
Nope. The first line spoken was that one dude handing the thing to Oscar Isaac going, "This should help."
Max von Sydow.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, he's dead now too.
Yes, he is.
So sad.
So let's talk about things that are going to cheer us up. Community!
Yes. Which
So
does not star Max von Sydow.
surprisingly,
Or will ever at this point.
there could be a digital reconstruction. You don't know there.
That's true.
That's right.
There
They
was
could
that,
Grandma
Grandma
taught this situation.
or James Dean it for the one other news thing that we talked about months ago.
I remember that, and that is insane to me. That, like, the family would just be like, yeah, make a CGI ghost of our dead relative.
Yeah, why not? Speaking of
Why not?
CGI ghosts, where we last left off on Community was we had whittled down, and I don't think we had properly prepared for what we were going to be undertaking.
Oh, I knew. I already knew. I was
Yeah, we went from 64 episodes down to 32. And tonight, or today, you never know when we were recording, we're going to complete it.
Yes, we
Blood-packed.
That's the
smoke
goal.
bomb.
Distraction.
Pop. So,
Magnitude.
yes. Are you still being our bracketeer?
Sure,
I
absolutely.
think he put it together. I think he should do that. Eric, why don't
Should
you explain
ride
how
or
you
die
put,
with this.
why don't you explain how you put it together as well, just in case
Yes,
people...
absolutely. So what I did, I collected a series, calculated the scores from a series of critic websites such as IMDb, Metacritic, Rotten Tomatoes. I averaged out those scores to get the top 64 episodes of Community, and in the case of a tie, I flipped a coin hoping I could get us a less darker timeline.
Well, I don't think it's worked just yet, but we'll find out come November.
It's true.
Oh, precious baby.
No.
I know. The clicks are going to be huge on this one.
Because there's
Chicks
a Ruby.
love dogs.
It's true.
I've heard that.
All right. So now we start with our new first matchup. We have the number 1 overall seed, Modern Warfare, taking on the 32nd seed, Basic Rocket Science.
And
Nate, we start with you.
Well, we didn't say too much about Modern Warfare the first time because it is the number 1 seed, so you feel like there'd be opportunities to talk about it again. And I feel like I'm going to do that again because it seems like this is going to be clear sailing. Because Basic Rocket Science, we talked about all the reasons we enjoyed it, but Modern Warfare, that in combination with the Mafia episode in Season 1 was where it made the turn into the show that we know it to be. So I'm just going to vote for Modern Warfare and talk about more of it in the Sweet 16 round.
Damn.
I'm thinking Modern Warfare was it was so stark in contrast out of left field when it first came up. Like, it was so unbelievable when you first see it. And
Yeah, it was a game changer.
Exactly. Basic Rocket Science, I love as like a self-contained standalone episode to where it's like you have some great cutaway jokes to where it's like Leonard's in a cardboard box going, I can't believe I'm not really in space. Like, there's so many good like little moments like that, and the Colonel Sanders father figure yelling at Pierce.
Love
Troy starting to come into his own as being like a man to challenge Jeff in the group, and Abed doing the Ed Harris of Apollo 13, like walking them through everything.
No, he's the Gary Sinise.
Gary Sinise. Well, yes, Gary Sinise, the one who should have went, but he didn't.
They both stayed behind.
Yeah, no, Ed Harris was the guy like running the control room.
Yes.
Eric was right, who I was trying to think of. And on my personal bracket, I already had Rocket Science gone. Because I had Glee going through. So, given that, I think it's still going to be Modern Warfare for this one.
All right. Well, I would vote for Basic Rocket Science, so it's not a clean sweep, but I will I will agree. I'll allow Modern Warfare to go, but I mean, I love Basic Rocket Science. It's probably, it was the second season episode that I was like, okay, this show's got legs.
Mm-hmm.
It's an underrated episode that kind of like not a lot of people champion as much as some of the other ones, and it's definitely got a lot of great moments to it that I think people should go back to.
It's also, is it the introduction of City College and Dean Spreck?
I think so.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Not City College, because it's been name dropped before, but that's like the first appearance of the dean.
Yes, and I remember hearing in the commentaries that they loved this idea that all community college deans were like these kind of asexual, very effeminate, skinny, bald men.
These effete gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
It is funny just in concept.
And then you see, like, one of the things they always talked about in the commentaries is about how Dean Pelton gets, like, turned on by power. So when the other guy, like, walks up to him and starts whispering, like, you haven't seen how many... And Craig's just like... How mean this Dean can be.
Did you say bean?
All right, next matchup, the number 16 seed, the bottle episode, competitive calligraphy, cooperative.
Cooperative. Like what we're doing is a
That's right, taking on the 17 seed, Paradigm. I can't talk tonight. Paradigms of Human Memory.
Yes.
Dan, you go first on this one.
Oh, so you have the first bottle episode. Well, the bottle episode where it's just yelling about a pen, and like you get that great monologue from Jeff where he's like, "And our kids will live in this room, and they'll look for the pen." Or the Paradigm of Human Memory, which is just I think we went into it last time when we were talking about like how fresh it was. One of those things that was such a simple concept that like it was shocking to me that no one had ever done it before. I think I have to go Paradigm of Human Memory.
I am gonna go with Human Memory too. As much as I love that bottle episode, I just love how out of nowhere this episode came, and it still holds up. Some of those jokes still make me laugh till it hurts, especially like the one where they're all in the straitjackets and Jeff's just spouting out random gibberish. There's a fortis radiating or testicles of mercury poisoning.
Yeah.
It's like you couldn't pair two more different episodes too, because one is built on a concept and a single location and just drawing out the characters, and the other is just a menagerie of joke, quick bit, and they're both so well done. These are two of my favorites, so this would be a hard choice for me. You guys have made it easy, so I'm just gonna throw a minority vote out there for cooperative calligraphy, which I do think is one of the strongest ones. But you know what? I still got my other bottle episode.
Yeah, there's another one floating around in there.
That's right.
And if I had to, honestly, if I had to choose between the two, I probably would have picked polygraph over calligraphy as far as what is the best community bottle episode, because of the extra emotional oomph it had, but also just, I think probably the jokes are maybe just 20% funnier than they are in calligraphy. Yeah. And just how they build, especially with like the runner with the sperm by the end. Just, I mean, it's not the first time sperm has had me in tears, and it's not going to be the last time.
Ooh. All right. Next matchup, the number 6 seed, or is that 8? It's 6. Digital Estate Planning taking on the 40th seed, Beginner Pottery. I'll go first on this one. Beginner Pottery had a nice opening round. It's not going to get past this episode.
No Cinderella there.
No Cinderella here. This is easily probably you could call it a classic episode of Community. It's referenced the most, and we talked about the last time, where it's just a beautiful homage to the games we grew up playing.
Mm-hmm.
I was wearing that shirt the last time we recorded without Nate, so we just decided to do an episode on the bracket then, and it's everything about that episode. The introduction of Gilbert is an amazing character too, that I'm happy. That's one of the, I will say, so Gas Leak, I'm surprised that they didn't do the Haunted House Halloween episode, that wasn't in one of the top 64, because I actually did enjoy some of the back and forth and the dialogue for that, where Abed's just watching everyone on security cameras and Britt is trying to therapize Jeff, and then Gilbert shows up at the very end, and then like you have some great Troy jokes where he's like, oh, you're not allowed to go in there because that's the indoor gymnasium, and it's like literally just a sex dungeon, and Troy jumps up on one of the swings and he goes, why does Pierce have all these collars unless secret dogs? Like that, I think that episode may be one of the Ghastly Gear 1 too, where I'm like, I enjoy this. But all that being said, it's Digital Estate Planning for sure.
Yeah, this is a no-brainer. All the reasons we cited in the last one, and I think we'll go into more when it gets into its next matchup. Digital Estate Planning.
All right, so to determine Digital Estate Planning's opponent, we have the number 9 seed, Conspiracy Theory and Interior Design, taking on the 24 seed, Modern Espionage. We'll go Dan with this one.
And Modern Espionage is Paintball from the final season?
Yes. Correct.
Okay. I mean, I like it. I feel like I should have watched the last 2 seasons before we did this, because those are my 2 weakest areas. I know 1 through 3 like the back of my hand. And it's the good runner about Modern Espionage. I like that Jeff is like continually going, I'm not playing, and then he like literally takes out like 4 people like it's nothing. Like how they keep saying he's like the best person to ever play the game. So there's some really good things mined there too, and especially with Abed and Annie dancing, and then they're all trying to find whoever's, I forget who the guest star is, because they had a fairly larger name come in to the episode. But I love that Conspiracy Theories episode too much, with like that 3rd act finale where you get Annie and Craig and Jeff and then Professor Woolley all coming in, and they keep double crossing everything, and like then you finally get the cop showing up too, who has some of the best lines for a supporting character in that entire series. Like And they reference back to this episode later on in a different episode where he's like, did I ever fake shoot somebody in front of you to teach you about gun safety? So for me, it's still conspiracy theories.
Well, I will say that modern espionage does have the return of Coogler. I'm looking
Classic
up
character, the Coog.
Coogler! Yeah, I'm not seeing who the big... Don't think there was that big name you were thinking about there, Dan. I mean, Kumail and Johnny's in it, but
I think that's who I was thinking of.
Yeah, but he was just a custodian.
Couple years away before he was...
And a Marvel movie away before he gets like the most glorious six-pack.
I'm not mad at it.
I respect that. I think if I had Marvel money and a personal trainer to put my body in that position,
oh
sure,
yeah, sign me up.
I'd at least do it for a movie so that I could have a physical copy of a record of here's what my body used to look like, kids.
Good. Yeah.
This is the peak.
It
went all downhill from here.
Do either one of you watch Hot Ones?
No.
Yes.
Did you watch the Zac Efron episode that came out last week? Or 2 weeks ago? So they had Zac Efron on, who looks like a normal guy now, but like he talks about when he was in like doing Baywatch, when he looks like, you had to stand next to the Rock, and he looks like, washboard Adam. Yeah, and he's like, no, he's like, I'm happy I did it, but no, it's not fun, and that's what a lot of people have said. That's even what Rob McElhenney has said from It's Always Sunny, because he did the same kind of thing where he got fat for the show, and then he lost all the weight and got in shape because the studio paid for it. And Rob McElhenney's like, oh, my wife likes the fat guy way better. He's way happier.
Well, I remember I remember reading from Hugh Jackman talking about how like those scenes in like the Wolverine movies, the X-Men movies, where like his abs are just popping out of the skin. That's because he's dehydrated.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like, what are your ab days that we need to highlight? All right, well, you're not going to drink water, and then this is like that's not how a human being should be. He has to.
I was gonna say he retired from being Wolverine because his wife was like, "You need to stop."
He has to be in the greatest shape of his life, and then he has to deprive himself of liquid in order to look that way. And I remember some writer, screenwriter, director, he was making a movie with Jason Momoa, and the first thing Momoa asked him was, do I have to have abs in this movie? And he was like, no, you don't. He was like, oh, thank God.
Mm-hmm.
So...
speaking to bring it back home, that's one of the things in the commentaries that they've learned. Like the women would even say in the commentaries, like Yvette Nicole Brown has said this. She's like, it was kind of opposite for Community, where it's like normally you're over sexualizing the women, and especially in the first season, you had like Troy and Jeff, and they said they were like surviving on nothing but kale chips and like doing the same kind of thing, like dehydrating themselves more or less.
So, Nate, which one are you looking at? Conspiracy theories or modern espionage?
I mean, it's conspiracy theories for all the reasons that Dan cited. It's another homage episode. It gives us the fun Professor Professorson character, but then the third act is one of the best they've done, just as far as it keeps topping itself as far as another scheme, and the Dean is just getting more and more apoplectic about it.
If only this hoodie were a time hoodie.
I did not get that joke for a while.
The first one, wasn't it? Wasn't that the first Time Desk reference too?
Yeah, well, that's the first time we get the
Adventures of Team
Dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Only this desk were a time
desk. All right, so we're done with that bracket. Let's move down to the next one, and we have the number 4 overall seed for A Few Paintballs More, taking on intermediate documentary filmmaking. Nate, you start on this one.
All right. I think I've already gone out there and saying that some of the paintball episodes don't age as well for me. Mm-hmm. So, I'm going to go documentary filmmaking just because of like how much it adopted that office style setting, but then it pushed it in a way where it didn't feel it was cheap, and it was, at least at this point, different, whereas I feel like A Few Paintballs More was following maybe a little too closely in the steps of Modern Warfare with the setups. It had fun. I don't think Josh Holloway's character is terribly funny or well utilized.
Wait, so isn't A Few Paintballs More the Star Wars one?
Yes, it is.
Oh, is it? All right. Still, even though I think that is my favorite of the three now, I'm going to vote for documentary film.
Oh.
All right, Dan.
You want me to go or you want to go?
You can go.
I had this same matchup in my personal list, and I had the same feelings as Nate, where to me, documentary film it's a stronger episode. I like, and that's what I was saying. A few paintballs more, we had discussed this a little bit last time, but it moved down in the paintball hierarchy for me, just because I, like, as Nate was saying,
it's the third time.
It is the third time, and as you're saying, it's good for Rogue One, but since I've watched Rogue One a couple times, but not enough to be like, to make that comparison. So thinking about that, it might go up if I watch Rogue One or that episode again, but since I don't have that comparison of the two, it goes down because I feel like the Star Wars gets kind of clunky at times, and that documentary film, like, every single person gets a chance to shine. And like in the commentaries, Yvette Nicole Brown talks about how she was the only person who didn't have what we're doing right now. She didn't have a talking head, so they wrote her that scene where she steals a camera and is recording her own talking head in a closet, and then they double down on the joke to where it's like she's having like a really heartfelt moment holding her purse, and she's like, I guess that's why people call me, and they like cut away from it, like while she's having a tender moment. Like, it's just little things like that make me so happy. So yeah, for me, it's documentary.
All right, like on my personal bracket, I have a few paintballs more going, but now that we talk more about it, and actually I think I watched both of them since I actually made my own personal, I'd probably go with documentary film too. So we'll go clean sweep on that one.
That was the only reason I was trying to kick it to you, because I didn't know if you were going to do a few paintballs just to get the.
But then I started thinking about it, I was like, no, it's documentary filmmaking.
Yeah.
I mean, just for the LeVar Burton cameo.
That was great.
That's another little tidbit from the commentaries. The writer apparently texted Donald Glover when she wrote the episode, and she was like, you don't have a lot of lines in this next episode, but I think it's going to be one of your best performances. And then he improvs a whole bunch too, with like apparently the Reading Rainbow theme song. He kept doing different things. They just kept resetting, and he kept on coming up with other stuff to sing and other stuff to do in the toilet when he's crying. I'm like, oh, so funny.
No wonder Chevy Chase hated his guts.
Did he?
Yeah.
He's probably also jealous.
Because
he was jealous.
Chevy Chase was probably racist too.
Well, yeah, he was saying those racist things because he was jealous of Glover, because he's like, realized this kid is really talented. Yeah. And I hate him because I'm Chevy Chase.
It's a good impression.
Thank you. I was in Man of the House with Jonathan Taylor Thomas in the mid-'90s. Remember that, kids?
It's as good an impression as Chevy Chase's impression of Gerald Ford.
Right.
Did he just fall over a bunch?
That was all he did, was he would just fall down. That was it. And Gerald Ford did that once. He was a college athlete. Wow. And he's defined as being the guy who pardoned Nixon and fell down.
Only president in U.S. history to win the office without ever being nominated. All right. He wasn't even nominated for VP. All right.
Oh, it was a fill-in for Agnew. Yep.
That's right. All right. The more you know, Dan.
Yeah, I think this, Eric, I'll cover this next one. Because I think this is just going to be a clean sweep.
Yeah, I think you're right.
The next matchup is Pillows and Blankets, the Ken Burns style mockumentary, versus Foosball and Nocturnal, which is an enjoyable episode, but it's Pillows and Blankets for days.
Yeah, it's Pillows and Blankets.
I will throw out one constellated for Foosball, because I just love that episode so much. You heard it in the first ranking that we did. And I like Pillows and Blankets. I like the Ken Burns. I feel like I wanted to execute a similar concept before they started doing Drunk History, but like something between the two. But God, I love that Foosball episode so much. That's where my vote would go, just because I love it so much.
Sorry, Foosball.
It happens.
It happens. You had a good run. All right, next up.
I think you could just say that about Foosball as a sport or game in general. You had a good run, Foosball, but then people realized they'd rather play billiards or anything else.
We'll be discussing that episode later. Play pool.
Balls like a man.
Balls like a man. All right, so we've got the number 5 overall seed, Emotional Consequences of Broadcast Television, taking on the 28th seed, Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas.
the controversial 28th seed.
I mean, am I wrong?
Hey, I didn't vote for it the last round, so.
You say you didn't vote for it the last round?
No, I picked wedding videography.
It's because you don't have a soul.
No, I do, and it's Keith David.
Keith David is your soul?
That's right. I'm wearing my
He's just walking around.
And he's wearing the pants.
That's right.
Is that the plot of Pixar's Soul? That our souls just walk around? And we have to capture them?
Keith David.
And one of them is Keith David? I mean, I'd still watch it.
It's like Pokemon.
I'd watch the hell out of that. All right. So we're talking about the finale of the series taking on the Racking Bass parody Christmas special. And
where's all this hate coming from?
I don't hate
Eric
it.
over there.
I like it. I'm just saying it's not one of my favorites.
All right, so I think we know where you're going to go.
Yes, I'm going emotional consequences.
All right, I want to hear Dan.
Well, because you probably know where I'm going to go because I went into it last time we talked about it. For me, it's Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas because it was such a daunting... You worked for months on a single episode of a sitcom for television to make all those jokes work and everything. And I think I went into it last time too, just a little bit about emotional consequences. Like, it's good for character development, but it was really... And it's a fine finale, but it's nothing that they hadn't previously done. Like, I feel like your best stuff is the character development, but Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas, you have some better jokes. You have a lot of heart. Like, you could argue that the heart cancels each other out, but Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas for me, like I said, was seated criminally low, and that's where my vote goes for this.
So I'm the tiebreaker now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking ahead at what the next matchup is too.
I've done a little bit of that.
So thinking about that, I love the Christmas episode and the care that went into it. I feel like I'm gonna vote for the finale just for the last scene alone, and I don't think that'll carry it
writing
that much further. But just on that alone, I think it's gonna be enough to push it over the Christmas episode for me. And all the reasons we cited last time.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Dan, it looks like we don't have souls.
Well, hey, it's turned around now from Pete's Dragon. I see you too.
I referenced that to my girlfriend the other day.
Yeah.
About your lack of a soul because of that movie.
It's true, Dan. We still don't know for sure if you have a soul or not.
All I know is I like Rankin and Bass Christmas specials, and apparently you two hate Christmas. So I used that gift the other day. So why do you hate me and Jesus?
I like watching the cat behind you.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
That's very entertaining.
Finn just keeps moving around.
Yeah, that's fine. I had a cat behind me yesterday. All right.
Sure did.
Next matchup.
Yeah. Dan, you want to announce this next one?
Start of the next bracket on the top right.
We got the bottom.
Oh, we have one more?
Lo
Siento. My bad. Yep. You'll see why I skipped ahead. So between these two, it's Epidemiology, which is the Halloween zombie episode, or documentary filmmaking Redux. It's Epidemiology. Like, I like the documentary filmmaking Redux, but that zombie episode. You punched a lady bee.
Like, these are two heavy hitters going at it. Like, if I'm taking a step back and just watching them, I could watch both of these episodes on a loop for the rest of my days. I'd be happy because these are two of my favorite episodes.
The whole monologue from Chang about how he's Jeff's understudy, so he's like, I've got my wig on over my actual hair and then my ball cap over the wig. There's no air getting in here. I'm literally dying.
And the whole Pierce's story of, I'm not getting out of here until I get my trailer.
I did just watch that after we recorded yesterday too, and it is a bravura performance by Jim Rash throughout the entire.
It's probably it probably might be his best performance in the series, but
I would say either that or the one where he goes into VR.
Yeah, VR, which was another one I brought up last time that's not on this list and criminally not on this list.
Stop saying Jesus wept.
And like him running in place is just when you have a comedic actor who's so funny, all you do is put a mask on him and he runs in place and you see him hop. And that's amusing. Like, so great.
When you got talented people, you don't need much to make you smile.
That's right.
What I say to you, Dan.
All right. So now we're moving on to the other side of the bracket. The number 2.
Did you guys even vote, or we just
we're all voting?
Okay.
Yeah, we're all voting. It's a clean sweep.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, it was a good matchup, but it's like, okay, I know who's gonna win this one.
If I have to choose between the documentary episodes, it's the first one. Although I did really appreciate this one, especially upon my rewatch.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. So the number 2 overall seed, Remedial Chaos Theory, taking on Virtual Systems Analysis, 34th seed, which I just watched that one today.
Oh, the Dreamatorium?
Yeah, the Dreamatorium episode. It's got the heart.
This in Greendale Hospital School.
Well, also, I mean, it's a great performance from Danny Putin.
Yes.
And Allison Brie.
It's one of those episodes that really opens him up more, and you get to see things from his perspective, which I think those are always kind of well, they're few and far between, but they're always very well done. They don't ever make Abed's Spectrum residents like feel cheap or feel tacky. They always handle it very well. That was actually one of my favorite jokes from the Fincher episode, where he's mocking all the primetime television serialized crime dramas about how they use autism as if it's like a superpower.
Yes.
But no, this come on, man. Let's just move on because it's Remedial Chaos Theory.
I'm just sad. It's going to be one of those things. We're going to have a lot of matchups coming up soon where it's going to be. I'm looking at 2 episodes.
Ahead to the next one.
I know.
I'm
it's
looking
like
ahead to this Sweet 16, and it's that's going to be.
Some of these are going to be so hard, like so fucking hard. Because I love, like I talked a little bit about last time, like the holodeck episode, the Dreamatorium, where it's like they introduce it in Annie's move, and you just think it's the most ludicrous thing until they actually use it, and then you see Abed start like, these tacos are both dope and legit, just the conversation he thinks that they have, and then you get to see all the characters act how they're acting from his point of view, and then going into the fantasy where it comes off like a soap opera because that's what he thinks Annie enjoys so much, and like the fake slap, and then Shirley reacts like a split second later. I'm sad to see it go because it's got to be Remedial Chaos Theory.
Right. I mean, this is how I felt about like the last match we just had. 2 great episodes, but there's no topping Chaos Theory, at least not yet.
Not yet.
I feel that same way about the next matchup.
These are just going to get so much worse.
You want to announce it, Nate? You're already looking at it.
Sure. It's one of my favorites. I talked about it earlier, Cooperative Polygraph from the 5th episode where they deal in the aftermath of Pierce's death versus the first Chang Dynasty, which was the conclusion of the 3rd season, or just about. At least that
the penultimate.
Yeah,
penultimate, but it's also the completion of a season-long arc that they were planning for the longest time.
That's right. Where
and it's a heist episode, which we all love a good heist.
Heist episodes are great, but oh man, Cooperative Polygraph is one of the funniest episodes they have ever done. It is so packed with jokes. It's got the nice character moments as well. It is the best of their bottle episodes. I love it. It's got to be Polygraph.
Walton fucking Goggins.
And Walton fucking Goggins, he's so good.
He is so great.
He's so dry.
The Chang joke where his first immediate question is, "Have you ever masturbated in the study room?" He just takes the dialogue off and walks out.
and then he comes back in like halfway through the episode. You go, "I didn't just masturbate on the table. I masturbated everywhere." Everywhere. Well, they turned that into a runner too, where they're doing the Gary Oldman from
Leon
from
the Professional,
where Ken Jeong gets one, Annie gets one later in the season. I'm just telling you, I want everything to get past that porn blocker. Like, what do you mean everything?
I think about that whenever I want someone screaming every whatever. I think about I want it like Gary Oldman. Ben and I actually, my friend who writes screenplays with me, we put that in one of our screenplays. We put Gary Oldman style in parenthetical. It goes everything.
I look forward to the next Edwin J. Hill production we do where I get to scream that.
Well, we'll see when that will be.
It's going to be like this.
The next one. I didn't say when.
Whenever maybe 2021.
That's right. But it's Polygraph. I mean, Walter Goggins just playing straight-laced for the entire episode, and then the kickoff, he's just like, hey, let's have some fun.
And complimentary sperm.
I like where he goes, also sperm.
Also sperm.
And then the reveal that Pierce died with his heart giving out, masturbating to fill the canisters of sperm is such a wonderful, in-character way for him to die. And also kind of like a nice, subtle fuck you to Chevy Chase.
Right, he literally died fucking himself.
Well, and I like the whole joke where when he's talking to Jeff as Pierce, he's like, "Did you know that you're gay?" Gay idiot says, "What? What?" Like he's still screwing with them.
Yes, I do like that.
I love First Chang Dynasty. This is like a 49-51, but we can do cooperative calligraphy.
All right, next up we have.
I hate you so much right now.
Hey, hate yourself for voting this way too. Basic Lupin Neurology, the 7th overall seed, taking on Introduction to Finality, the 26th overall seed. Dan, since you hate me so much, why don't you start off?
Oh my god, like
Law and Order versus season 3 finale.
Which, like I said last time, I really think I prefer this finale of season 3 to the finale of the actual series. I think had this been their swan song, and it ended with the hashtag 6 seasons in a movie. Like they were so aware.
Emotional consequences ends with hashtag in a movie.
That's true.
It's true. But I mean, this was especially while, and I'm sure you guys remember, like this is while everything was happening, while everything was going on, where there was so many things like the groundswell from the internet trying to like save the series, like people literally mailing things to NBC and Sony to try and get them renewed, and like even though it was so up in the air and tumultuous, like no one knew what was going on. It felt so tied into the actual fate of the show. And then hearing it was renewed, even though Dan Harmon was going to be there, was still somewhat elating. And all that being said, I still can't vote for it over Basic Lupine Neurology.
It's fair. The Law and Order parody episode is one of their most... They are just locked in. And from the top down, every detail on that is just so pitch perfect. Every performance, it's a great one for Michael K. Williams as well.
Oh yeah,
you got Michael Ironside popping in for a great cameo as well. I mean, I gotta
Starburns episode too.
Good Starburns episode. It's got Is this the one with the cat car, or is that the?
No, that's the Ass Crack Bandit.
Okay, that's the Fincher one. I keep calling it the Fincher one, even though that's not at all what it is in reference.
It could be.
That's its central reference. But I'm going to go Basic Lupine Urology.
I'm going to complete the sweep. I think that's one of the... I just got done watching that episode before we started recording.
Nice.
And yeah, I think the best part is probably Michael K. Williams in that episode because he is so good. Especially when he has that face-to-face with Michael Ironside. Because I'm just imagining them...
Code.
That's right. I'm just imagining them just filming that and how many takes it probably took for them to both get the straight face going. Because they were probably laughing their ass off during takes. But
and both of those actors are not known for comedy too.
Yeah.
So I think it's even more fun seeing them in like a comedic light. And their characters they're playing are still relatively straight. It's not like they're very broad or over the top. So I think to find that with those actors and succeed is even more admirable.
And also great line from Fat Neil towards the end. I did it for love.
And that's also
want to have sex.
It's a good Todd episode too. Like I like I don't even know because we knocked biology out like really early on. Like I like the whole introduction of Todd as a character, and like bringing him back like this was like a great way to round out his character being a Marine. And then he's like, the whole thing where he's like, I disarmed the IED and then I returned the baby to her mother. Like,
right. And she offered me her only possession, a wood chair.
Wooden chair. The next one I think is going to be more challenging.
All right, we're at the number 10 seed, Geothermal Escapism, taking on the 23rd seed, App Development and Condiments. Two of the better episodes from season 5. If I'm going with this, I'm probably going App Development. I love their take on this because it's almost oddly predicting the future of social media.
Well, we had social media at that time, but
Right,
it's since been taken up a notch.
Right. Because it's like that one episode of Black Mirror with Bryce Dallas Howard. It's
Yes.
like the comedy version of that years before someone was like, hey, we should do this as a serious dark telling.
I wonder if they were inspired by this as well.
The creator of Black Mirror is like, what do you got for me? The guy just got done watching Community. So there's an app.
Let me tell you about Meow Meow Beans.
Oh, my Meow Meow Beans.
I love that they're all fighting over their ranking on something as stupid as how many like cats they get.
Yes.
A ranking of meow, something that has the name of Meow Meow Beans, and people are like living and dying over this, and that's just so wonderful.
It's a good Brita episode.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
And you got the Coogler.
Coogler.
Both of these are like representations of future worlds. One dystopian, one I guess more
Mad Max.
utopian. Mad Max versus Zardoz. So it's kind of interesting that they would be paired together. And I love them both. And I think Geothermal probably has a little more heart to it because of what it does to the Abed character. So even though it pains me because I love app development so much with how clever it is, and for all the reasons you've stated, I think because of that slight heart edge, I'm going to give it to Geothermal.
Dan, it comes down to you.
In the last part that we recorded, I really went into my love for geothermal escapism. App development it's a great Jeff like one man journey where he's like where it's classic Jeff Winger, and he's like, this is dumb. Oh, someone's got too much power. I need to take them down a peg or two. And he thinks it's Shirley because Shirley's like overly fake nice, and then Britta leads the revolution of like the oh god, I forget what they call it. The revolution of ones, and then you have Starburn showing up wearing that Zardes outfit that Sean Connery had, and it's like you had still. How about them apples?
You had Tim and Eric as cameos as well as I think they were the fours. Yeah, I once had a romance with a one. I'll keep your secret.
Yeah. But I love geothermal escapism so much, and it's also the first time you really get to see Buzz Hickey. You get to see William Banks. You get to see him, Jonathan Banks. Thank you. You get to see his character. I feel like that's a good use of like you never got. Chevy was okay in the paintball episodes, but like Jonathan Banks really like shined in that episode in like their other quasi adventure thing where he teams up with Britta and like. Everything that they emotionally go through all those stakes and like Shirley Island and it's the orb and then they run out of there like in the bubble. I gotta go geothermal.
All right. Moving down to the last bracket, we have the number 3 seed, a fistful of paintballs, taking on the 36 seed Studies in Modern Movement. Who wants to go first on this one?
You know what? I will go first just because I think I'm going to give the minority opinion. So I'm lower on the paintball episodes as a whole after having rewatched them. They're still, great genre parodies and enjoyable, but I think this one for me is probably the weakest of the 3. And that was a surprise for me because I think the Star Wars one works better for me just because Rogue One exists. Because without like the Rogue One parallel, which it just lucked into, there's not really a whole lot of Star Wars parody in there. So I'm going to go Modern Movement, and I know I'll be outvoted, but that's okay, because I did just rewatch this after we recorded yesterday, and it is a gas. It's wonderful.
Well, Eric, how about you?
I'm going to go a fistful of paintballs because of the paintball trilogy. This is probably my favorite. I love the Western motif. I think it goes great with the paintball setting. But what I really love is, again, this Annie's story in this episode, her growth. This is an Annie episode. To quote Abed, Annie's pretty awesome today.
I feel like this is a much tougher decision than you guys would both be thinking about, because we've talked about it. Paintball is good for what it is. And everything you said, Eric, is totally true. It's a fantastic Annie episode. She gets some fantastic character growth. There are good little jokes in there when Pierce has like his speakeasy and he's like, study group, how long has it been? And it's like 6 hours. Like, just like pulling you out, making those meta jokes in these high tension moments. But then on the other side, Modern Movement is one of my, I think I said this last time, is one of my favorite just standalone like ABC story. Every single story is hysterical, with the Dean and Jeff going clothes shopping to them doing karaoke to Seal. Even Pierce gets to do a little physical humor, and you can tell Chevy Chase is just in his element. And then he's fantasizing that he's like playing piano and there's hula girls behind him. And then the Shirley and Britta thing with the guy in the car we talked about last time. I'm upset. Do Modern Movement.
All right.
Oh, the first major upset of the tourney.
No, we had a documentary film upset a few paintballs more.
Yeah, we're down 2 paintballs.
I guess that's true. We're down 2 paintballs. I'm gonna make a bold prediction. I don't think there's gonna be a paintball episode in the Final Four.
I think you're right.
Spoiler alert.
Well, granted, 1, we determined the fate of this, but also right. 2, we only have 1 paintball episode left.
That's right.
The first one.
Odds are not in its favor. All right, next. Yes, Ruby. Next matchup. You want to announce this, Ruby? Nope. Okay. All right, we got Curriculum Unavailable taking on Physical Education. That's the 14th seed taking on the 19th seed.
Pretty close.
Dan, you want to go first?
Not really.
Too bad.
So Curriculum Unavailable is the John Hodgman clip show episode, which John Hodgman being in there and Britta trying to tag team doing the therapist thing with him is really funny. And I think this episode starts with the officer, Craig Kakowski, showing up and being like, we called him loitering around, and Abed is cosplaying as Inspector Spacetime. He's like, that's what I've been trying to tell you. It's not the real Dean. And it's like leading up to the first Chang Dynasty. But then Physical Education is the where you get Abed start to do all the impressions. You get Jeff doing the billiards, tapered sticks, balls like a man, Brown Joey. I think by a hair, I have to go Curriculum Unavailable. I'm changing. This is different than I'm looking back at my own bracket and I'm like, I'm changing things as we're going on. Like these aren't even what I voted for.
What you feel in the moment?
How I feel.
All right. I'll go next, and because I love Curriculum Unavailable, but we got Human Memory already. But when I look back on Physical Education, it's probably one of my favorites of season 1. And again, it's another one of those episodes where the writing is so good, and it's more the traditional sitcom setup, but Jeff at the end, that entire third act of him playing pool in the shorts with the gym teacher is still probably one of the funniest things in this series.
I also just remembered, so this is honestly, and I'll tell you the short story. A friend of mine who I used to play Left 4 Dead with, she turned me on to the series, and she just sent me this clip totally out of context to where they first try to get Abed to go hit on Jenny, and they're all just standing around a table, and it's like, they're like, Abed, what are you doing? And he's like, being myself. And they're like, go be yourself by Jenny. And he's like, but I wouldn't do that. And they're like, how would you know? He's like, well, a lifetime of observation mostly. And they're like, is there a version of you that would go over there? And he goes, yes. And then you see him go,
starts doing the alien impression. Yep.
They're like, and you see Troy around to pick him up. They're like, what the hell was that? It was a different version of me. I think it was a vampire. Like, so dumb, and they devote a whole scene to it. So, like I said, it was a narrow submersion. So I'm not going to be whatever you want to pick, Nate. I'm not mad either way because they're both.
Well, that's good. I don't want to make either of you mad. I think I am going to give the edge, both very strong episodes, but to physical education, and a great. John Hodgman is great in Curriculum Unavailable, but Blake Clark is also great as the billiards coach in physical education.
As the gym teacher, making everyone wear shorts.
Mm-hmm.
I choose shorts.
You son of a bitch.
Kisses them on the mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a great episode.
And it's another one that's kind of unheralded too. You don't hear as much about that episode because it isn't tied to like an homage as some of the other splashier episodes.
I'm not mad about it, like I said.
Yeah.
No, you'll just be upset about other things. All right, I think this is probably going to be I'm guessing the last of the easy ones. We have the 6th seed Advanced Dungeons and Dragons taking on the 38th seed Comparative Religion.
Which was an upset last time compared to.
It was, but it's Advanced D&D for me. I mean,
yeah.
Make it a third. So moving on.
We have to say goodbye to Mike the Bully, even though Anthony Michael Hall is just
put your fist
shines.
in your balls.
Yeah, if you what was it? If you were a chick, you'd have my fist. Oh no, that's from Paintball, actually.
Yeah.
He says that when Annie takes him out in Paintball. He goes, if you weren't a chick, you'd have my fist up your balls. It's some of my favorite line readings. Anyway, sorry.
And then our last matchup of the round of 32, we have the 11th seed Contemporary American Poultry taking on the 22nd seed, the Ass Crack Bandit episode.
So two homage episodes.
Yep, we have the Goodfellas homage taking on David Fincher homage. Who wants to go first?
Who's thinking?
I'll go first because I think my mind is more made up. These are two of my favorites, but I'm gonna give it to the season 5 Fincher one just because I feel like it is more an homage to its source material and in ways subverts the tropes of that than American Poultry does for the Mafia movie. So I think there's more going on as far as the references and the subversion of those references in basic intergluteal than American Poultry. So I'm voting for the Ass Crack Bandit, as I always have and will.
If there's one thing we know about Nate, just always
Protect
sticking
your
quarters
coin
in
slots.
butts. Yeah.
Dan.
I like Fincher's style and this is one of the homages for Ass Crack Bandit. It never rung. It felt just like it was a little too dour for it to really connect with me. Like I knew what they were doing. I respected it. It's executed extremely well, and it's still it's one of the ones that like I enjoy watching, but it doesn't connect with me as a lot of these other ones. And I think it can't be discounted how much a Contemporary American Poultry just set the tone where it's like, okay, this is where we can go with this. This was early second season. Eric, you remember top of your head?
First season. It was the first homage episode.
So the very first one they do, and it's like one of those things you think it's so simple, and then it's like another one of the clips. You're like, why has no one ever done this? So I go American Poultry.
Well, to paraphrase South Park, Simpsons did it.
Sure. Simpsons did it.
Simpsons did it.
Wow. When you have 30 years of episodes, they've done everything.
Well, we also we already took out the poli-sci episode where you actually had South Park winning the student body president at Greendale.
That's true.
And Troy and I both voted for it because of the 11 people who voted.
Me too. Butt Soup. Troy Butt Soup Barnes.
What? That's my middle name.
Right.
Okay, so it comes down to me on this one.
This is
Think
just gonna
of
get
all
worse.
the-
It's
I know.
just gonna get worse.
I'm just
Think
gonna
of
rip-
all the great visual jokes and
There's great visual
Oh.
jokes.
Are we supposed to be campaigning? Sorry, but chicken.
Well, here's the thing: either of these is going to lose the next round to advanced D&D, so I'm not putting that much effort into this.
Yeah, I'm just gonna rip the Band-Aid and I'll go with American Poultry.
All right.
It's just such a just that Layla sequence alone just pushes it through for me.
Yep.
All right.
There's one more thing about American Poultry. We're going to come back to it, but very briefly, there's foreshadowing where you have Chevy Chase doing a Donald Trump impression.
You know, I rewatched it for this, and then they did the Donald Trump references. Like, oh, he's gonna ruin everything.
Yep.
In my Exercise Connect game, where you're like running through New York, there's references to Trump Tower and its comb over, and it's like, oh, he infects everything.
Ow.
He infected one of our vacation Bible school videos, Nate. Avatar Nagila.
Was he in that? Or, I
referenced him when I'm the Pharaoh that I like to do things big like Trump.
Oh, see, and then like every inconsequential, innocuous reference like that now just has like a pall.
Nice. Community. We're moving on.
All right.
Moving on to the Sweet 16.
All right. You're going to have to keep me updated as far as what
Same.
the matchups are.
All right. So our next matchup, the number 1 overall seed, Modern Warfare, taking on the 17 seed, Paradigms of Human Memory. I think as I mentioned earlier, spoiler alert, we all predicted a paintball episode wasn't going to make it to the finals.
Well,
Yeah.
and this isn't even there yet. We're in like
No.
the Sweet 16.
Sweet
now.
16, and I mean, I'll just put it out there. I'm putting Human Memories over this one.
I
Same.
was kind of surprised how much I didn't feel like the first paintball episode held up. I know I can recognize its place in Community as far as like a stylistic detour and what it did for the future, and I recognize some of the tropes that they had for the action genre.
Mhm.
I don't know. I guess it just felt like there wasn't as much going on as I remembered. I love Chang in it, in particular in the end.
When he
But-
goes full John Woo.
When he goes full John Woo.
Well, and then don't forget there's a fantastic Die Hard homage at the very end of it when he has the gun strapped to his back
Yep.
and he's like all like messed up and limping into the office going, "Ding!"
That was good. I do.
So fun.
Yes.
And then Troy being every black man in every action film. Jeff Winger, you son of a
You
bitch.
son of a bitch. Yeah. But no, I gotta go Memory because it is so packed with jokes. It is so stylistically different than anything else they've done, and it's just a lot of fun. And because it's so packed with jokes, if one of them doesn't work, there's like another great one that's just like 20 seconds away.
Sweep it.
Sweep it. All right,
The
now our
number one
first
seed is out.
number 1 seed is out.
No
Now it's time
paintball.
for our first. This one's gonna hurt. The number 6 seed, Digital Estate Planning, taking on the number 9 seed, Conspiracy Theories and Interior Design.
Ooh.
This is a hard one.
This
both
one's
have
gonna
so
hurt.
So many good qualities to them. I don't know how to judge it.
I will go first then because
Okay.
I think mine is between these two because of another thing of what they're able to accomplish and what they're able to tell through a different medium. I go Digital Estate Planning. I love the Conspiracy Theories episode. But for me, the Conspiracy Theories episode, it kind of stops at the Jeff and Annie bit. Like, if you told me what the B story was, I would probably remember it. But like the Digital Estate
Troy
Planning,
and Oddbed making a blanket town.
and that's the introduction of the blanket for it. Like, that's where the interior design comes in. So that's the first one. Now I remember they're following him through the Turkish.
They do have a fun chase through it, through Blanket Town.
But I just love Digital Estate Planning so much. That's one of my personal favorite episodes, and especially once you get Abed, who like once he starts tapping into the computer characters, and it just does the whole list that goes beyond the screen, and he goes, "Oh my god, where have you been all my life?" And like, he can like
He makes the army of little Abed
Yeah.
babies.
Yep.
What do you need them to do? And then they take
Try
him
and
out at the
Abed on a dragon.
no, or shooting lava.
Oh, yeah, shooting lava.
Yeah, but then you're getting like, it's also something we haven't addressed because I think Advanced Gay, sadly, was another episode that didn't make it, so we didn't get to discuss the Pierce and his dad relationship. So like, I love that they threw that in there with him riding the bomb, like doing a tiny Doctor Strangelove thing, going, "Look at me now, Dad." Like, I love digital estate planning so much. So now whoever wants to go next, because that's where my vote goes in this
Where
one.
are you gonna go, Eric?
I'm leaning towards conspiracy theories and interior design. I love digital estate planning, but rewatchability, I can always just sit back and watch conspiracy theories, and I could still laugh every time. That third act twist where, they keep the one-upsmanship, getting the Dean to freak out, the chase sequence through the blanket town, and then I love the whole concept of, I'm totally made a fake class, and now we're doing an entire conspiracy theory. Or the Annie's little model car being wired to explode.
And it explodes.
That was a great segment.
A little thing when they said in the commentary, one thing that I really loved about this, apparently they wrote the line when he first meets Professor Professorson and he never met him before. They wrote the line just saying, "I don't know," but there wasn't like inflection on it. And then Jeff Winger, Joel McHale, just like, he gets so excited and so happy, like, "I don't know." Like, he just jubilation over the fact that like his scheme is working out, and it was not in the script. It was just how he read the line.
All right, Nate, it comes down to you.
And I feel like probably conspiracy theories has some of the stronger, more sustained comedic sequences from like that chase, from just the character coming out of the blue of Professor Professorson, and just the one-upsmanship of the final act. But I think I'm gonna lean digital estate planning just because of, ultimately, I think it's the third act that really pushes it into a bigger realm because of what it opens up as far as the relationship between not just Pierce and his father, but the Giancarlo Esposito character and his relationship with Pierce's father, his half-brother, and how shunned he was because of his big racist dad and what he would have to give up in order to accept his inheritance, and just bringing that level of kind of not just introspection, but kind of like melancholy and depth to it. And then the forfeit that they give at the end, I thought it was very heartwarming by the end of it, and gave it some extra dimension, if you will, even though it was 16-bit. So I'm going digital estate planning.
He once sat on me to get a better seat in church.
Oh. All right, next up we have the 29th seed intermediate documentary filmmaking, taking on the 13th seed Pillow and Blankets. 2 documentary parodies facing off.
It's true.
Do you like the Office documentary style, or do you like the Ken Burns documentary style? I'm
going to argue on behalf of the Ken Burns documentary style, just because I think there's probably more jokes in the other one, but this one I think is more layered and even more clever with how it goes about, because of all the different dimensions that go into the Ken Burns documentary style, rather than just like interviews and quick cuts like you would for the Office style. So I think, and just the sheer visual gag of seeing Pierce in his weapon of mass destruction suit.
I pray to God we don't have to use it.
He's just a pillow monster that looks like the Michelin Man.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching that for the first time, and I think I was like hyperventilating. I was laughing so hard.
I know, I was there.
Yeah.
And the Changlorious Bastards.
The Changlorious Bastards, the little kids.
Leonard is great in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Leonard likes this post.
Yeah.
I need to make that my Facebook notification again on my cell phone.
That actor has also since died.
Big Dick Erdman. He was on a couple of commentaries and they talk about him a lot. I think they said he was like oh, I can see his face. Jack Lemmon's roommate. Or
Oh,
like
cool.
he like worked since the 50s and 60s, they said.
He had a life.
Yeah,
apparently
they only hired him because he was one of the. I think he was like the only actor, the senior citizen, who would be willing to swim with no shirt on in the pool.
Well, no, they needed someone who could swim and deliver a line, and apparently they said they almost drowned him because they made him stay in the pool for so long.
Well,
it was another
good
good.
that he did it.
It was a good throwaway joke to where Jeff's like, Leonard, if you're gonna yell at me, at least put some shorts on. And he goes, busted. Also, I don't think we've mentioned yet, this is the first appearance of Keith David via voiceover for the Keith Burns documentary.
Were you in the Cape? No.
No. Like, and you don't.
Was he in the Cape? Because I don't.
Yes,
remember.
he was. He was the. Okay. I watched an episode of the Cape.
How bad
he was the ringleader / mentor type for the Cape. He's the guy. He was the guy who gave the Cape to the Cape.
I feel like the Cape is only now remembered as like an offshoot of Community.
Yeah, it's only a joke from Community. The show's gonna last 3 weeks, Abed.
6 seasons in a movie.
So yeah, no, I'm going Pillows and Blankets.
To put Dan out of his misery, I will go with Pillows and Blankets as well. So that way, Dan, you don't have to. So that way, you don't have to hurt yourself trying to come up with an answer.
Well, it's true, and I was probably going to go documentary. So,
sole reasons because this is my wife's favorite episode.
Oh. Which one is?
Pillows and Blankets.
It's just staggering how clever it is.
All right, the number 5 seed, Emotional Consequences of Broadcast Television, versus the number 12 seed, the
Epidemiology.
I know where Dan's going to go on this one because he's been wanting Emotional Consequences of Broadcast Television to go out
since the opening round.
Yep.
Well, but I couldn't have picked a better
opponent.
Episode. Yeah, just for okay, and there's another thing. Another joke that out of context, like I might have seen before the entire series, but the entire sequence with the cat that takes about a minute and a half of this episode.
What is up with this cat?
Is someone throwing it?
Like, it was so good.
It was out of nowhere. It was the funniest, arguably the funniest thing in the entire episode. And Jeff literally goes at one point, and you just keep hearing it, and they keep throwing it in front of the camera, and then Troy's like, but what about the zombies? And he's like, back burner, Troy, we got to deal with this cat. The fact that they introduced something that's so ludicrous in under a minute, and it's all freaking them out, and they're like, no, we can't think about our dying classmates. We have to figure out why this cat's terrifying right now. Oh, so many, that entire, there was something I saw online where somebody said those people who do not want to do social distancing right now are the people who would get bit in a zombie apocalypse and then not tell you. So I found that very relevant to this episode where you have Britta and Rich both being just shitty human beings. And Jeff, with him wearing his coat, you're stretching it.
You're stretching.
I love Britta taking the opportunity to be like, I got bit even longer ago than you. Like, just trying to use it as a point of, how much better she is.
Yeah.
The Dean's ABBA playlist that provides such a wonderful series of incongruity with the music.
I'll tell you about that because this was another amazing thing. Maybe I'll just Nate, I'll let you borrow my box set and you can listen to all the commentaries. They have a commentary for every episode, and they're all amazing. And they said that this aired, like, it was obviously, if you're paying the rights to ABBA and you're playing it on broadcast television, it's going to cost a lot. They said what they
pricey,
yeah, they're like, what we really wanted was also the hardest to clear, and they got it, like, I think they said day of or day before. Like, they actually got the rights to do it. Like, and that episode sings when you have, like, ABBA just with the juxtaposition of, like, just terror of people fighting.
Or Troy fighting off the zombies towards the end.
That's what I was saying. What are you going to do? I'm going to be a nerd. And then he walks in and immediately
Good luck with that.
Why did I think this would work? How it undercuts that moment of triumph.
Mm-hmm. No, Eric, you were so close, but he goes, better have a plan B. I love that. I'm sorry. I love that episode so much. So you know where I'm voting, so somebody else can go now.
Oh no, I think we're all heading that way.
I'm gonna go epidemiology for all of those reasons. I mean, I love the finale, and I think it really works as a community finale. But if I'm gonna watch either of these two episodes again, it's gonna be epidemiology.
Yep.
And they pointed out again, this is another instance of the dean being turned on by power, where the army shows up and they're like, wow, 6 hours on the dot. And the guy comes up to him and goes, are you in charge here? And he goes, I am.
Not gonna show my poker face. All
so
right. Our next matchup, the last remaining number one seed, Remedial Chaos Theory taking on Polygraph.
Ooh, this one is so hard for me.
Well, I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there. I'm going with Remedial Chaos Theory. It's still probably the best written episode of the entire series.
It's
just the
so
concept and just how many times have we quote, this is the darkest timeline in our daily lives because of this episode? And how many other people quote it without realizing it?
Oh,
that's
yeah,
true.
Sure.
I see that on social media all the time, and I don't know if everyone is a Community fan.
Mm-hmm.
Although apparently Community is like huge on Netflix right now. It's one of their top ranked shows. Maybe they'll get that Netflix movie.
You know what they'd have to do to get the Netflix movie? You have to get Donald Glover back, which is not going to be a small feat nowadays.
Do what you can.
You can show up for 5 minutes. They'll make it work.
They'll kill him off.
No, they can just do what they did in that Yahoo series episode, where they just get like 5 minutes of Troy footage and then splice it throughout the entire movie to try to make it work.
Oh yeah, for Ken Jeong.
Or
that's a good episode.
Oh, that was a good episode. I should watch that again. Ham girl. I was gonna make a point of they could just Grand Moff Tarkin James Dean it.
Oh, that's right.
Doing it with
CGI Donald Glover.
You have Sean Gunn play Donald Glover.
Ooh,
yep.
I like that. Although it brings in an icky racial context now.
I only said it because he played Rocket. That was literally my only context for that.
No, that's fine.
Sure.
Just for the purposes of I don't know, because I feel like I know where this is going to go, so I'm just going to vote for Cooperative Polygraph, just because I think is potentially the funniest episode.
It's extremely good. Am I the only one hearing things that sound like they're in a washing machine?
Yes.
That was weird.
No, I'm hearing it as well. I think it could just be like air circulating, unless there's something else going on.
I mean, Ruby was trying to lick something, so that could have been it too.
It just started. That's the only reason I was mentioning it. Anyway, yeah, I will let you have your consolation vote, but it's still Remedial Chaos Theory for me. I think we'll have to, next round, we're going to have to actually get into the episode because we haven't really discussed it much. We just kind of think, we can assume everybody knows what this episode is. So I
discussed it a little bit on the first go round.
Maybe a little bit. So I actually made, in one of the first smartphones I own, I went on a website where you could make your own phone case, and I had the screen graphic printed from that one where it goes up into the 7 different timelines, and I had that on the back of my phone case for a very long time. Nice. So
nice.
So good. So
every time you got a phone call, it was a different timeline.
Yes.
No, at least 2, because he could have ignored it.
True. There are several things I could have done. Answered, hung up, like a lot.
It's true. All right. Next matchup: Basic Lupin Urology versus Geothermal Escapism. Law and Order episode versus Mad Max episode.
Both homage episodes, although Geothermal does have the finality of Troy leaving, as well as what that means for Abed and letting go. So it has a little bit more of a heart to it. So for that reason, I'm going to go Geothermal, even though Basic Lupine is such a pitch-perfect Law & Order parody, and for the reasons we stated earlier, has such great use of its supporting characters and guest stars.
I'm probably going to go Basic Lupine, too, because I like both these episodes. It's just rewatchability factor. I can rewatch that Law & Order parody episode again and again and still laugh just as hard.
So, it's up to me.
Yep.
I've said a lot about geothermal escapism, and I do love that episode dearly, but I think I have to stick with basic lupine urology because it was one of those things growing up that, like, you know, I would sit around and watch TV with my mom, and it would be like a Law and Order or a Law and Order SVU, and it was no matter.
Let's watch this sex crime show, dear. Sit in my lap.
It's
I'm
like
going to teach you to be a good boy.
It's more a matter of that, like, and that's the thing is, like, it was done so much in that style. I'm sure if I sat down with my mom, like, hey, I want to show you an episode from my favorite TV show ever, I would show her this and she would laugh her ass off because she would understand every joke that came up. And, like, you even get Starburns going, hey, wait, you're not cops. And Shirley's like, he's right, you're not cops. And, like, and then they have to
I can hear everything you're saying.
Like, everything about it is just, it's like, I love this emotional stakes of geothermal escapism, but, like, this is one of those instances where it's just like it surpasses the homage. I think it's a little bit, it's a better executed homage than geothermal is, because geothermal is kind of just broad post-apocalyptic.
Yes.
And it's
not
definitely
as specific.
Yeah, and it's definitely elevated by the heart that's in the center of it. But basic lupine, there is not a wasted frame, not a wasted joke. Like, you couldn't change anything about that episode.
All right.
Fair.
Next up, we have the Underdog Studies on Modern Movement taking on Physical Education.
Ooh, who'd have seen this coming?
I don't think people would have seen this for a Sweet 16 matchup.
No.
Right. Who wants to talk about what?
Who wants to go first?
I don't know where I'm residing on this one yet.
Okay, I'll go. So I didn't have Modern Studies of Modern Movement making it this far, and, you know, the more I talk about it, and I rewatched it recently, solid episode. Probably the I guess you could say underrated musical moment, the Kiss from a Rose,
the montage.
Right, and everything that goes on it. You have Jeff and the Dean, you have Pierce playing the piano with the Hula Girls, you have Shirley and Britta with the Jesus. With Jesus in the backseat, and then you have the shadow puppet display with Troy and Abed and Annie. But again, I just go back to Physical Education, and I remember, because this is before the show started doing the homages, and I still the end with the paintball scene, and you still, not the paintball, the pool scene, and then you still have the great sub story of, like, them trying to build up Troy, and then you also have Jeff actually at the moment just wrapped in the Greendale flag, sitting on a chair when a girl's asking him about Troy. He goes, you know what? Jeff probably having one of the few moments of heart in the first season where he goes, you should go talk to him. That's more of his style.
Yeah.
Because he's been trying to use Abed since the beginning, since the pilot, because he's trying to use him to get information on Britta. So I'm going to go with Physical Education. Don't jump all at once, guys.
Yeah, we're all jumping at once.
Well, I'm more on the fence of this one, so I think Dan should go next.
These are two of my personal favorite episodes. I love both of them dearly. There's a random joke from Troy in Modern Movement when they start doing the shadow puppets, brought to you by the girl yogurt Jamie Lee Curtis uses to poop, which there's some in the fridge for you right now. Like, and then Physical Education, like I said in the last episode, like, it's another one of my favorite episodes where me and my buddy just perpetually quote it all the time. And like you said, it's a good Troy episode as well. I think, though, just by a hair, because every single story is a little bit more fleshed out than Physical Education. Like the pool one, and where you get Jeff starting to come around as a character, I really, really, really love how well-rounded Modern Movement is. So I'm going Modern Movement.
And that is what I thought would happen, which is why I had you go next. Because of how much you were championing it earlier. Now, I did just watch Modern Movement again, so it's fresher, but I do still have strong, wonderful memories of Physical Education.
Vanity, that name is that guy. First,
whatever that guy's name is.
And the Blake Clarkness of it is great. The finale of it is great, but I think I am gonna go with Modern Movement just because it had something for every one of the characters to do in a way that felt like it tied together, at least from a comedic standpoint, especially when they were having the montage of everyone singing together.
And I just remembered too, it was during the entire move, but like Jeff blew them off to go shopping, and it starts with like the girl clerk hitting on him, and she's like, "What are you doing after this?" And he's like, "I don't know, maybe try on the blazer." Like, but I forgot that it ended with Jeff showing up with like drinks and like trying to apologize, and like
he tweeted
it,
and then the dean on the
moon
singing.
Yeah. I forgot about that until right now.
I
mean, I'm not upset, but I'm going to be watching Physical Education after this.
I think I might be doing the same as well, Eric, just to refresh myself.
All right.
I'm really liking our list so far. I'm just saying.
Oh, no, this has been great.
I also think it's not necessarily like, I mean, some of them, like the next matchup is more of a, you would expect it, but some of them are a little more unexpected.
We're getting some unexpected ones for sure.
All right, next up, the number 6 seed, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, taking on the 11 seed, Contemporary American Poultry.
I'll go first on this one. I think for me, it's American Poultry like crawled so Advanced D&D could like sprint full speed into the wind, and like it's just Advanced D&D. They made a joke in the commentary where they're talking about how Chevy, they filmed it late at night where he's like in that throne room and everything is like super red, and they're like, that may be actual wine in his glass. Like they had no idea. And it's like, what do you want to do? Oh, so many things, Abed, so many things. Like him just fully realizing the villain arc and everyone else trying to come together to thwart him. Like, for me, it's Advanced D&D.
Around this time, I was starting to get into Dungeons and Dragons with my roommate at the time. He's friend of the show, Dr. Drew.
The good one who isn't giving erroneous coronavirus.
Right, not the horrible Dr. Drew, the good one.
The one that's not exploiting celebrities for their personal pain.
That's right. Well, I don't know what Drew does at night.
Well, that's true. He could be doing that.
But this episode made me really proud to be a D&D fan, because especially when you look at how other comedies would handle D&D in the past, looking at you, Big Bang Theory, and other things like that, where the joke is they're playing D&D, where in this one's like, no, it's not a joke. It's, let's embrace this culture. Let's show it what it is. And I remember in the commentary for that episode where they were talking about like how the NBC lawyers are on one end of the room, the Wizards of the Coast lawyers on the other side of the room, and it's Dan Harmon and the rep from D&D just talking like, so I'm a fan of your work. I'm a fan of your work. And it was just an awkward conversation for like an hour.
Well, and that's in that they talked about how like they went high, like Community went high enough up the chain to where they just finally found the guy who was like, yeah, go ahead. It doesn't sound like you're actually like disparaging or anything. Yeah, use our name, use all the rights, use everything. Like, so it's those two guys geeking out while the lawyers are like,
I will trying to figure it out in the background.
After this aired as well, Dan Harmon started playing D&D on his Harmon Quest podcast, and then they turned it into a short run animated series, Harmon Quest, of the D&D campaigns.
Yeah, and the guy who was his dungeon master ended up being Annie's brother in a Pile of Bullets.
Yeah, I think it's Spencer or something is his name.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. So, yeah, for all of those reasons, I'm voting Advanced D&D as well. I mean, I didn't vote for American Poultry in the last matchup. That one didn't hold up as well for me, but D&D was just so strong from beginning to end. It doesn't just work as an homage to fantasy tropes, but it's such a strong ensemble piece for all of them. Yes. It has some of the best physical acting as well as far as the jokes they find. The line deliveries by Chevy Chase and many of the other actors are just superb. It's so creative. It is reverential to the source material, and you get an understanding of why people would enjoy playing something like this. And it's just one of the best.
Some really good one-off jokes in there, like, Hector the Well-Endowed. I made that for Troy. I'm sorry. And then like
I bet you did.
And then you had the really funny joke about Jeff is like, I throw my knife style. And like Abed's like, you do 10 points damage. And he goes, see, what am I not good at? And Britta doesn't miss a beat. She goes, sex.
What?
And that's when they're sleeping together. So it's like doubling down on it. So it's so funny.
All right, now we're down to the Elite Eight, gentlemen. Can you feel it? Can you feel it deep down inside your plums?
In your plums.
Your plums.
Let the boy watch.
Let the boy watch. All right, the number 17 seed, Paradigms of Human Memory, taking on the number 5. Nope, not number 5. The number 6 seed, Digital Estate Planning. Ooh. This one's gonna hurt Dan.
Ooh,
it sure is.
This is a challenge.
This is a kick in the plums.
Oh my.
Who wants to go first? Who wants to jump on this grenade?
Yeah, right.
One is more sporadic, and one is more very focused. So it's like, I don't know.
So it's different like, what do you love more? When they're focused or when they're like literally throwing everything against the wall?
Well, does anyone have a strong opinion so far? Leaning one way or the other?
For me, I'm going with Paradigms of Human Memory.
Okay.
Because I'm a huge fan of both these episodes. No one's really a loser in this one. But just the jokes a mile a minute and just the fact that they were so creative with the whole concept of we're going to do a clip show existing of clips that never happened, because that's how you get intergalactic television and Rick and Morty.
It's true. Although
episode,
those are my least favorite episodes.
Right, but this is when it's done well. And also, there's other jokes that are happening that's not just those flashback scenes. Like, you had the return of Annie's boobs. You have Senior Chang vaselining up and going into the air ducts, diving in. And then I also love how continuing the joke of the whole season is they're doing dioramas, and this one is the diorama of them doing their last one. You can actually, if you look closely, you can see Senior Chang hanging outside one of the windows looking in while they're making it, because he so desperately wants to be part of the group.
Nice.
They color corrected that in post. It wasn't dressed like him, and they're like, oh, that would be really funny if they did that. So.
Yep.
All right, so Eric's going Paradigms.
Sequences too are just so funny.
I feel like Dan might be leaning
do that
more
with Pearson Abed.
Yeah, they start shipping it. Apparently, they got that idea from somebody who had YouTubed it, and they were shipping Jeff and Annie, which is why they used the same song. And apparently, they reached out to the YouTube author who made the original video, and they were like, "Hey, is it cool if we do this?" And they were like, "Of course." And so
yes.
They got the rights to that song, and then you do get the Pearson Abed being like exchanging money and doing the jump rope, staring at each other.
Yep.
Oh
Double
God,
touch.
that was so good.
It's also the return of Boobatron, because that's the robot that's running amok in campus.
Yep. And then it's like they reach out and save him. Yep. Where you thought I was leaning a specific way?
I think you're leaning with digital estate planning. You own the T-shirt.
I used to own the T-shirt, but then I ruined it by mistake.
I own the T-shirt. This is another one where it's so hard for me, and I'm torn right up the middle. Digital estate planning, we haven't even gone into like the B and C storylines that they have while they're in there about how like Annie's trying to teach Shirley how to play the game, and Shirley like murders the shopkeeper, and then they burn down the armorory.
Annie murders the shopkeeper, and then Shirley's going, "We're going to burn this place to the ground. No evidence."
She throws the torch at him and kills him accidentally, and then the wife comes out, and Shirley kills the wife.
Yep.
So you're right.
And then it ends up being the family of the character that Abed marries in the game.
Yeah. And then she comes back and starts crying. I live in the village. I love Abed. I don't know. Nate, make a decision.
I'm gonna make the decision for you, Dan.
Okay.
Because this is such a maybe the hardest matchup. Because they're both so good in so different ways. Yeah, so far. I'm gonna go Paradigms just because of just the sheer number of things that it gives you. More so than maybe any other episode they've ever done.
Yes.
All right. Next Elite Eight matchup, we have the 13 seed Pills and Blankets taking on the 12 seed. I'm going to keep mispronouncing it.
Epidemiology.
Epidemiology.
There it is.
This one is really hard too.
It really is. My heart is telling me one direction, my brain is telling me another.
I'll put my cards on the table. I'm still gonna go blankets and pillows and blankets. Even though I love the Halloween episode as much as I do, I think just the sheer density of its cleverness is enough for me to push it over.
Well, I think I'll go next because I'll put the pressure on Eric because I think I've been homering for epidemiology this whole time, and to do a zombie, they kind of worked backwards. They're like, how do we do a zombie episode? Where it's like, well, you can't kill people off, so they can't actually be dead. So what happens? What's transmitted via bite? It's rabies. And then you get to see Rich. You get good random throwaway lines that Troy goes to be like, but it's transferred by bite. The banana said so. Like, just so many. Like the guy dressed up as a doctor was not a doctor, and then Rich was like, oh, I'm a doctor. Like,
it's so good.
It's so good. I love that episode.
I mean,
so
that's
much.
why it's in the Elite Eight here.
And I don't dislike Pillows and Blankets at all. I just like epidemiology more.
Fair. Now it's all on Eric.
Yeah,
He's gonna drown one of his children.
Yep.
I'm gonna screen cap that where he's just like.
So, like I said earlier, I can either listen to my head or listen to my heart on this one.
And your heart is your wife saying pillows and blankets.
No, that's my brain telling me to go pillows and blankets.
Oh, okay.
That's your brain telling you if you want to have sex again.
Right.
Pillows and blankets.
Thank God she doesn't listen to our podcast.
I gotta go with my heart. I gotta go with this one. I'm going with epidemiology. It's just, I love this episode. From the moment I saw it in Nate's apartment, I was like, oh, this is brilliant.
It's a wonderful episode. I
even tried to get George Takei's message from my brother Kevin to be his, but he's never watched Community, so he doesn't understand it.
Doesn't matter. He gives it for you.
Right.
We're all Kevins.
Kevin can't come to the phone right now.
He's on the
saying-
station.
It's a pretty good impression, Dan.
George Takei.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, our next Elite Eight matchup. The number 2 overall seed, Remedial Chaos Theory, taking on the number 7 seed, Basic Lupin Urology.
I don't want to do this anymore.
All right, I guess I'll be the guy to force Dan's head. I'll go with Remedial Chaos Theory.
Oh.
So
sad.
Either Nate can put Dan out of his misery, or we're gonna have Dan squirm some more.
Makes for good television.
It really does.
I would normally vote for Remedial Chaos Theory because I do think it is arguably the best episode, but for the purposes of this bracket, I'm going to go for Basic Lupine just because I want Dan to be on the spot and have to decide and go through that Sophie's choice.
You son of a bitch.
That's right. I had to drown a baby at the last time. It's up to Dan.
This is what
the Nazis kill.
This is what happens with this. Friendships are torn asunder. You almost see me cry on webcam because I'm discussing Community episodes that I love so near and dear to my heart.
Well, it's not like we don't. We all love these, but unfortunately, decisions have to be made, Dan.
Decisions have to be made. This is why these brackets are fun and torturous at the same time.
Yes.
And we have gone into a lot about Basic Lupine Urology. I think Remedial Chaos Theory, we've said before, it's the only episode that was ever nominated for an Emmy. The only Emmy nomination they ever had, which is really, really criminal to Danny Pudi. Danny Pudi deserved at least a fucking nomination. Like, he didn't even have to win, but he deserved to be there because he was that good in this series. But what I love about Remedial Chaos is you see it's so well written about all of the group's dynamic when you add and subtract individual members. The super ironic part being when you take out Troy, you get the darkest timeline.
It's true.
So,
and then we took out Troy the next season.
And then we took out Troy.
Well, let's not forget, he took out Pierce, and more or less everyone lived happily ever after. And he took out Pierce, and we had season 5.
But the best timeline was when Jeff was the one, because then Britta could fulfill her song, and then that's the thing that brought everyone together.
Exactly. And it's Roxanne. I can never hear Roxanne now without thinking about this. No. So funny. And it's so funny. And he's like, and there's even one of the timelines where he goes, look, I don't like being controlling dick. And she goes, Rock, no. And like he cuts her off. It's so, I have to go Remedial Chaos there.
Fair.
I
think the next one is going to be the easiest decision.
Of the lead 8, I'm going with yes. Our Cinderella, is her story finally over?
Yeah, I think that glass slipper has been found.
Yeah, the 36 seed, Studies in Modern Movement, taking on the number 6 seed, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. You guys just want me to go ahead and write in Advanced D&D?
Count it.
Tweeting it.
Tweeting it.
He tweeted it.
All right, gentlemen, we've come down to the final 4. We started off with 64. We're down to 4.
Oh, God.
Well, you started with even more when you were putting your bracket.
That's true. I started off with 110. Whittled it down to 64.
Which means these are almost half of the episodes. At least with the starting point.
I was going to say, you could have done, when I made the bands bracket, you could have started with 128 and just had the high seeds get a bye. Just saying.
Yeah.
Then
or
we
I could
would
have just stuck with a classic 64-person bracket.
Eric was doing 180 or 128 seeds. We still would be putting together.
It would be a 6-hour. It would be a 6-hour show.
I want to sleep.
It would be a Ken Burns documentary length.
This would be our pillows and blankets, which is not in the final 4 because of you, Dan.
Oh yes. Oh, now you're mad.
I think it's because of you.
It is
Eric.
true. It's because of me.
Yeah. So before we get into it, tell us what the final 4
his
are.
Disinterest in having sex with his wife for the rest of their marriage.
Hey, Sarah.
Hey, I could find other ways.
It is. It's social distancing.
I masturbated everywhere.
Please have sex with me.
It all fits.
Yes.
All right, so our final 4, we have the 17 overall seed, Paradigms of Human Memory. We have the 12 seed,
Epidemiology. The zombie episode.
The number 2 overall seed, Remedial Chaos Theory, and then the number 6 overall seed, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. So our first matchup, Epidemiology taking on Paradigms of Human Memory.
Wow.
The next matchup is going to be like murdering your mother. So this one is going to be the easiest one. And it's still hard.
Oh, you do top and bottom? The way the bracket was set up for me, I did them across and then I did that. But top and bottom's fine.
Oh, I'm just thinking like the NCAA tournament, how it does it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of doing it. So, yeah, I think of the 2 final 4s is probably going to be the easier one for me. And I'm going to go with Paradigms of Human Memory over Epidemiology.
Yeah, got it.
I love both these episodes, but as we keep discussing with Human Memory, the jokes are just a mile a minute with that one. And it was so... For its time, it was probably one of the most original things I remember seeing in a while. It's like, no one ever thought of this. Just do a clip show of something that doesn't exist. I love it. You can get mad at me all you want, but I know when you punch out the back of this, it goes faster.
I'm almost like looking ahead, and I feel like anything we pick here is going to lose to the winner of the other matchup. So, but who knows how things go? I don't know. Where are you leaning, Dan?
I'm getting to that point where it's like we're up to this final 4, and like no matter what we pick or vote through, I can't be mad about it, and I can't be like sad or upset because these 4 episodes are you can make an argument that any one of them deserves to be the best episode.
They all have their merits for that.
Right, there isn't one where like, how did this get here?
Right. I mean, I was gonna say, had it gone a little further and had we actually gotten advanced movement somehow getting all the way up there, we would have been like, this was a shocker to all of us. But it's just one of those things running into, like, if it had been, say, advanced movement versus epidemiology, we might be having a different story.
Yep.
But that being said, paradigms of human memory versus epidemiology.
Yes.
And there are two episodes of the fake clip show that I'd never seen done before, and then a zombie standalone comedy episode that is a self-contained story finishing in a swift 22 minutes.
Yep.
A funny swift 22 minutes.
Well, we talked about some of the highs of it before with like the cat gag and the different characters coming in and the dean and his it's so good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the playlist.
That's why it's so hard, because they're both like perfect episodes in different ways. Actually, I hadn't mentioned this before. Paradigms was the only time in Community history they didn't have enough footage. So Paradigms of Human Memories, where you actually get that weird little animated short at the end of the dean, and then it's like they're all...
Oh, yeah.
Like, I forget what it's called. It's like Jeff Winger in like A Lesson Learned or something, and it's like... And he turns into
Mega D.
Yeah, and then he kills them all, and it's like, and it's literally the dean doing all the voices. If I didn't know any better, I'd think you had a crush on him. I'll never tell. Dean Craig Pelton. It can go either way. I'll let you be the deciding factor. I'll go epidemiology.
I knew that was going to happen too.
You're so smart. You're just so smart. Who's a smart boy?
Well, I do what I can.
I was genuinely torn. I made that decision as it was coming out of my mouth.
That's fair. I actually had no idea which way you were going to go.
That's why I was hoping you pick something.
These are both such strong episodes, and upon rewatch, I laughed so hard with both of them. But you know what? I'm gonna go with epidemiology, just for the reason of, even though I love the fake clip show episode so much, there's less you have to do from a structure standpoint for your jokes, because it could just be immediate, move on, and they do build from that and create like a momentum as they go, like with Jeff's collection of speeches and just the visual comedy of the scenarios as we're bouncing from moment to moment. But I'm gonna give the writers credit for being able to do everything on building a 22-minute narrative with what you have with epidemiology versus just the packed nature of the clip show. So I think even though two of them are some of the strongest examples of comedy writing, I'm going to have a little bit more admiration for epidemiology because of that difficult thread that it had to needle. I don't know if I said that right.
We mostly got it. All right, it's our last Final Four matchup.
This one. Oof.
Remedial Chaos Theory taking on Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
I think if you poll most Community fans, this might be like the 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And yet here we are in a Final Four with them.
Which is why I feel like whoever wins this is going to win the title regardless.
And that was one of my immediate beefs when you brought up the seeding, and it was Remedial Chaos Theory and the other 3 paintballs, and I was like, really? Not even Dungeons and Dragons? Like, how did that not crack the top 4? Like, I was really shocked, and I think it was at 6. It's not like it was far away.
Right, it would be a 2 seed if it was like the NCAA brackets. So,
but that being said, like I'm trying to think about these 2 episodes, like comparing and contrasting them in my mind, and it's such a difficult task because you have a you have a great adventure story. Like, that's one of the things that this show did that we were able to highlight, or not able to highlight, but we were able to see executed time and time again, where they're taking a narrative, where they're taking a different way of storytelling. And like Dungeons and Dragons episodes have happened before in different series, but never to this extent. And they're actually showing you
with love and care, right?
Yeah, they're showing you the game being played, but then you're going on the journey as well, and you're understanding like the idea that you could actually follow that adventure, like just executed so pitch perfectly. But then when you get to the other, like we unfortunately just lost the fake clip show. But when you get to Remedial Chaos Theory, where all of these like titles that we've been discussing were literally like play on words of actual college course titles, but this is the one where it's like, oh, what's Remedial Chaos Theory? You could teach a college class and you could be like, watch this shows you what happens, like the butterfly effect, like one thing changes, everything changes. You start new timelines. Like, it's that one is so tightly written, but for a different reason. And then you see all the characters as they come and go and ebb and flow in and out of each other, whether Britta's smoking weed in the bathroom or she's not. You're still getting the jokes in there where it's like, you guys are all grown up, you're having a fancy party, you got a bowl of olives by the toilet. Oh, it's fancy party, Britta. Like, he wants to have a cigarette too, but it's a piece of candy and he taps it and he eats it. Like, there's so many. Oh, this is in Remedial Chaos Theory. I'm rambling, but that's what we do here. I want to tell a short story real quick. When I had a job, there were a couple of people that would come into the bar all the time, and they would literally sit there for hours, and they would expect cheaper drinks, and pretty much the entire staff kind of hated them. And so, much like in this episode where Jeff like snaps at Shirley and he goes, "You're not allowed to have baking things as a personality," I would often think this about this couple, be like, "You're not allowed to have drinking beer as a personality." Like, and the fact that that has permeated my life so much, I have to go Remedial Chaos Theory.
All right. Eric, did you turn your webcam off?
No.
He's there. He just wasn't moving.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't see you. I only see Dan right now.
I got him.
Yeah.
You?
I see all of you.
All right, good.
Mute, remove. No, I only see you, Dan. Weird. Whatever.
Weird.
As long as it's still there, it's all good.
Yep.
I'm doing my best Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park pose. I just need to rip my shirt a little bit.
Bring it back to Community. You're gold blooming, Jeff.
What? Huh?
He's gone full gold bloom.
Better than going full in a cage.
All right, so Dan is going Remedial Chaos Theory.
I'm a sexy cat.
These are sexy cat. These are two so strong episodes. They're so amazingly written. Remedial Chaos Theory, we talked about it on the previous one, just how you line up the world and then you can explore the different permutations of it, and that plays with the audience as far as paying attention, and there's so many payoffs that are afforded in that kind of structure, which is why I love time loop stories like your Groundhog Days, your Edge of Tomorrows. Like, what happens if you go in this direction or this direction? How do these different combinations change things? So it's probably the cleverest. Whereas I think Advanced D&D is clever in a different way just because it involves so much of your imagination and it's so true to its source material. So then I have to come down to which do I think is the stronger story or outing of the characters, and that's where I'm going to go Advanced D&D. Because I think I get more with the characters from the story, whereas with Chaos Theory is more the story and the cleverness of the structure, which is wonderful and deservedly should have won that Emmy that year. Probably gave it to Modern Family or some shit. That was back when
which is now no longer with us.
This is true. One of the casualties of coronavirus.
Oh yeah.
No, it's not. But I mean, did anyone really know that Modern Family was still on the air?
No.
Not really.
Exactly. I stopped watching it after like the third season or so. So for those reasons, I'm going to cite Advanced D&D, and I'm going to punt it to you, Eric, to make the final choice.
All right. One thing about both these episodes that I've been thinking about and reflecting it during all this is they're both great Chevy Chase episodes, like
That's
Pierce
true.
episodes. Chevy Chase's acting, again, where he gets to be the complete and total dick in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. But in Remedial Chaos Theory, the writers give him the task of explaining how he had sex with Eartha Kitt in an airport bathroom.
And how he has to
7
insert that
different
every time.
Yeah, it's a different setup every time. But also, like, each time he Pierce is a little bit different in each one of those timelines, which is great. He's like forcing Troy to look at the doll.
Stare at the Norwegian troll doll.
Because you're a crazy old man and nobody will love you.
Mm-hmm.
But to boil it down, what this comes down to is, if I was going to show someone an episode of Community to get them to watch it, I'd have them show Remedial Chaos Theory. If after that, I would then show them Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, because hopefully I can get them to play D&D with me. So I'm going with Remedial Chaos Theory.
Just go through the final four right there, and then I'd show them epidemiology, and then I'd show them the Big Flip Show episode.
Because I think also with Chaos Theory is also because it's such a great also standalone episode where, again, you could drop anyone in on that episode, and if they don't laugh at that, they are no longer involved in your life.
No toilet olives for them.
That's right.
No.
Get out of here. You don't get toilet olives.
Or homemade pizzas with cream cheese and ketchup. Time flies when I'm baking. No, it doesn't.
She's been here since 3.
Abed screaming with his eyes. And so, fact checking, the year the Community was nominated for an Emmy.
Oh, did you look it up?
It's a cringy thing that it lost to.
For best writing.
Yeah.
What did it lose to?
Louis.
I mean, I love that show, and now I have very mixed feelings with the legacy of its creator. But when that show was on, it was something.
Yeah.
It was something very different.
But I was wrong personally too. In fact checking, I did find out that Community did win an Emmy, and it was for animation. It was
for the Christmas special.
For Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas, outstanding individual achievement in animation.
Good job, Starburns.
You heathens. You heathens who knocked it out so early. All right.
The Starburns company, I think, was also the animation house behind Anomalisa.
Yeah.
Nice.
Which is an underrated movie, if you haven't watched.
All right, we're down to
one of the most realistic sex scenes in a movie, and it's between two dolls who are manually manipulated by animators.
The more you know.
Take that.
Take that. All right. After that halftime show, it's time for our championship. We have the number 12 overall seed, Epidemiology, taking on the number 2 overall seed, Remedial Chaos Theory.
Yep.
Do we need to discuss?
Well, we've discussed a lot.
I love Epidemiology, but I gotta go Chaos Theory for everything that we've cited and more.
I think the win is a hands down. The fact that Epidemiology made it to number 2 is impressive in and of itself.
Right.
Well, I think part of that is the seeding. Had it come up against like the D&D episode, it would have been knocked out. But
that's true.
Yes.
Yep.
But no, the fact that it got to the title is you had a good run. You had a good run, zombie episode. You just ran into like Duke.
You're right. You ran into the blue blood.
The buzzsaw of Remedial Chaos Theory. That I think the Dungeons and Dragons was the closest thing it came to. Was that the only thing that even voted against it, like at all?
Polygraph.
Oh yeah.
Because I think Nate voted for that one.
Well, that was more just because I knew it was going down. If I had to choose between the two of them, I would have voted for Chaos Theory if it was on the line.
So we will also have an updated bracket of the three of ours. I'm, in looking at the list that we just put together versus the list that I did myself, I think I like the list that we put together better.
I agree.
I think
I didn't put together a list, so this is the only one I have to like.
Oh, then I guess it's Nate's list because he didn't do one. He didn't because the teacher didn't do his homework.
You mean the list that counts? Yeah, I'll take that.
It counts because we say it counts. We here at Ramble On are
Like our
dictating
money.
it counts.
That's right. This one matters.
Yes. But yeah, I love the upsets. I loved what we got through. I'm sad that we didn't get to I brought up some other episodes that I feel like should have been on here because I feel like there were a couple of gimmies. Like I feel like something like the last seed, like Biology 101, you talk like those things that are above 60. I'm like, I could pick 4 other episodes that could replace those, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
like I said, it got close. There were some pretty close, but literally for some of them, it was literally a fraction of a point that separated them being in the dance and them not being in the dance.
And that's the beauty of sport.
That's right.
Competition, if you will.
This is what we have now. We don't have sports. We got 3 guys talking to webcams, arguing over brackets
for a television series that has been off the air for 5 years.
That's right. Hey, and PE made it to at least the Sweet 16.
Yeah, they got knocked out by Modern Movement.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was a close call.
That was true. I will tell you the thing I enjoyed the most of this is just like the sharing the group love affair of this show and just all the things that make it work and elevate it and why we fell in love with it when it first aired, why we still watch it and fall in love with it again and again, and the thing that just makes it the special show that means something to us. So being able to share this with you guys and share the reasons why we love this show, I think is, if you want to be a little sentimental, something special as well.
Yes.
Yeah, it's for Shuko community. We are part of a special community where we actually can take close to 5 hours out of our week to discuss community and not, be like, well, this was a waste of time.
Human
it made
beings.
me want to watch
Human beings. Human beings.
Yeah, I know. My wife's been watching it nonstop, and I'm so happy.
I've
never been more attracted to her than in this moment.
No one told her I voted against blankets and pillows.
You can ask Eric. Like, it's been one of those things. I don't know how many times we mentioned just casually on our podcast, like, hey, we need to talk community at some point. Like, when everything, after we recorded last night and then we all went our separate ways and then all continued to talk on various social medias, I think I wound up having more people and more friends following me, and they were all like, no, let us know when your episodes are up because we want to see what you guys did, because there was another master list of like the best community episodes, and they're like, no, like show us, like blah, blah, blah. And there was more contention with the rankings because that's how the numbers seeded out. But I feel like given all of our width and breadth of knowledge about this series, it really flushed out to be like, no, those things that like, even like you talk about, because who knows who went through and watched this series once and they were like, snap judgment, this episode's a 5, like somebody giving Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas a 5 out of 10. You know who you are,
right?
But
again, this is why I didn't want to put my personal opinions in it when I came up with the seating.
No, extremely smart. So, but yeah, we cracked that nut, man.
We did it. Our apple is now huge.
Even a
Kraken Dan.
Even a shadow.
Even a shadow.
Check this out, aviators. All aboard Beefcake Airways.
Take those off, why? Because I look good. That's not the question.
That's not the point. And I like how that episode ends with Jeff coming back down to reality and realizing what's going on, and he's like, now I know since I'm being very vulnerable, you probably have a really strong urge to sleep with me. And she's just like,
well, guys, this was a blast.
Oh, so much fun. So much fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
It's good to see you
I
guys.
feel like you could do a. I was good to see. I feel like you guys could coordinate a rumble through this method.
Oh my god. Well,
Just
sure.
saying.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
got the time now.
It's true.
Just a matter. We might.
That's
I
what
don't
I'm
know if
saying.
we have currently our platform of choice
Get
is
a-
Skype.
a
We might.
fourth.
Well, we might have to move to Zoom just because I don't know the mechanics, and Zoom seems to be extremely popular and also very intuitive about how it changes when you record the video. It changes for you as opposed to just three of us being wherever.
Yep.
Well, that's true.
So.
Unless
We don't
you
know
just
which one of us will
want
be.
you want the viewer to decide who they want to pay attention to. You
I
give
mean,
them more
Oh, if we
choice.
want that, here, Ruby, get up here.
yeah. Is Finn's not here anymore.
Yeah.
It's
Give
Ruby.
the goods. Go.
Well, maybe it's something that we could definitely look into. It's a matter of some people are still working remotely, like both of you. Fuck. It looks like I'm hosting because I have the most time on my hands.
I mean, I'm working, but I got time.
Somewhat time.
I got
Um, I'm just happy we finally got to talk about Community and
Yep.
really go through it.
This was a labor of love
yes,
and
very much
friendship.
so.
No.
Now let's
Virtual
go
hugs.
find a BuzzFeed article from 5 years ago and figure out which Community character we are.
I'm Leonard.
You do like liking posts on Facebook, Nate.
right.
That's true.
I
Nate
actually,
likes this post.
And
I
I've
used-
been dead for years.
well, I also use that GIF where it's Abed. One of my favorite GIFs is I guess I just like liking things.
That's fair.
And also, it's like, shut up, Leonard. Who reviews frozen pizza? You're talking about it.
That's true. That's from Foosball.
That was a good one too. Yeah.
And then they have the Let's potato chips that he reviews later on.
Get your damn hands off of my Let's.
Oh, Splingles? If you pay attention, you can actually find Let's potato chips in other sitcoms. It's a prop bag.
I did not know that.
You can, I forget what I saw it in, but I was like, Let's! Like, and it's because it looks so similar to Lay's, so.
Oh, I know what we're researching after all this. There's a cat.
Kitty.
Yep.
Kitty.
She wants to be fed.
Well, I think
We all do.
True. I think we're more or less done. So across the internet over there, clever Eric Muller.
Across the internet over there is Handsome Dan and I. And with us for these two episodes, either there, here, there, or there, is the writer cuddler extraordinaire, Nathan Quincy Zoebl.
Thank you, gents. It's been a blast. Hope to see you again in some capacity while maintaining social distancing.
Exactly.
That's right.
Do your best Brady Bunch.
Ruby's looking at you guys, wondering what's going on.
I don't even know if that'll play. But yes, always do the things like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Let us know if you want us to talk Community more, because I think we just did it for about 4 hours. I don't know how we'll do more, but we can think of something.
You can debate it. You can submit your own takes.
That's right.
A ramble on rumbles about Community. Meh.
We'll see. Ramble on Requiems, where we go back reflecting on things.
That's what we're doing with Rottens, but I guess we could call it Requiems. Why not?
Eh.
Okay.
Rankings,
As always, everybody.
Requiems, and Rumbles.
Social distancing. Stay safe.
Be
stay
safe.
healthy.
We love
Wash
you all.
your
Hope,
hands.
hope your mental health is okay. If you need
Yes.
us, let us know.
It's never bad to ask for help. Always do that if you need it. And as always, ramble on.
Anchors away. Give me the hope.
Mm-hmm.